We've seen some amazing things, but that, my friends, is something we've never seen.
Brandon Cruz wants advice.
Brandon Cruz wants advice.
Brandon wants advice.
Brandon Cruz wants advice. You just locked yourself into the playoffs.
Nice.
Got it.
Talk with old Brandon Cruz wants advice.
Completely speechless, to say the least.
Man, I am honestly so baffled by that decision. Brandon Cruz wants advice. It's Brandon wants advice.
Green flag in the air. Brandon Cruz wants advice to the front.
It's the Brandon Cruz Daily Fantasy Podcast, where I go and look at low-owned plays and strategies specifically designed for GPPs. This is a show for people who are already informed on daily fantasy sports and how these contests operate. If you have any questions related to NASCAR that you're too embarrassed to ask your usual DFS provider that isn't a stupid question, feel free to give me a tweet at BrandonCruzDFS. Most importantly, take everything with a grain of salt and use your best judgment when making entries. Additionally, if you have a gambling addiction, that's not my fucking problem. Check your sensitive feelings at the door. Let's get right into this one. This episode is covering the NASCAR race at Richmond. I understand that I have an influx of people viewing me now. I want to shout out to Phil. I thank you very much for mentioning me in your awesome article. I do appreciate that. Didn't expect you to do that. You didn't have to do that, so I appreciate that. I've already gotten more followers and subscribers in the past couple days than I have ever since this whole boomer virus whacked us. Anyway, so I'm going to hop right into it. The way this is going to break down is I'm going to go over all my practice data that I have throughout the week, and then I'm going to tell you what I think you should do in this, and then I'm going to tell you the drivers that I like, and that's about it. It's free. It's just my thoughts. I put this out there so I can go back and listen to how I did, what I thought, and so on and so forth. So let's get right into it. iRacing, yes. Now it's a simulation, but it's still a video game with exploits, issues, and all of these things, using the sim rigs, getting your computers working, all this has been throwing the drivers for a loop. These are the issues that I think these drivers are facing, this week, and they've been trying to get used to it ever since I got on. But Richmond is a tough track on the surface. It's a one-groove racetrack, and this is the type of stuff that are going to be throwing these drivers for a loop, giving them a hard time. So the broken tire model is one of them. Unrealistic tire changes, fall off, the lack of feedback for certain drivers, being able to feel how the car is doing, if they're losing grip, if they're gaining grip, so the sudden increases of grip and the sudden losses of grip on cold tires, on warm tires, just it's very unrealistic. It's not what these drivers are used to driving on. They don't act like they're in real life. Some people say they're realistic, but just because they wear and slow the car down doesn't make them realistic. They're still being exploited. If you watch some of the streams that I have, or if you watch other drivers' streams, you'll notice that in practice sometimes, or in qualifying, they'll just do a burnout. They'll just slam the gas in the throttle, or slam the gas in the brake, and just spin those rear tires out, adding heat to the tires. In the game, the way it's coded is as long as you get some heat to the tires, it gives you grip. So in order to avoid having absolute no grip at all, some drivers will do burnouts and whatnot in practice and in qualifying, and I think that hurts them in the race because they can't do that in the race. So why are you training yourself? You're fooling yourself into a false sense of security by doing that. So I don't understand that. The aero push that these cars have, it is just absolutely unbelievable. We haven't really seen it a whole lot because these races haven't really been huge, but once we get the 30 cars out there, I'm sure we're going to see it exiting turn 2 and down the front straightaway, because this track, it'll either spin you out at a 2, spin you out at a 4, or you just fly straight towards the wall exiting turn 2, or you just, if you're following someone, sorry, I just hit the stand right there. If you're following someone down the front straightaway, it's going to pull you into the outside wall at Richmond. That's just how it is in the game. And then the rubber, the grip line, it's one groove. You got to worry about bump and runs. Some people are going to be faster than others. Some drivers are going to get impatient. And I don't know. I don't know how these drivers are going to race, if they're going to take it more seriously, if they're not going to care at all, if they're just showing up to show up, if they're going to, finish the race. Not really sure. The DK contest, now the DraftKings contest at the moment of recording this, which is 4:39 Central Time, because I'm no longer in Mountain Central Time here in Lubbock. The DraftKings contest locks at 1:10, or technically that's Eastern. Locks at 1:10 Eastern. Q is at 12:50. It's a 2-lap qualifying session, so qualifying should be over at 12:15. That should give you 15 minutes to make a lineup. Now, DK won't know the starting positions. Those little green numbers by the drivers during most weeks, that's not going to be there. DraftKings doesn't care about this enough to really like watch it, to put those things in. They don't have enough time. They don't have enough resources, so quote-unquote DraftKings won't know the positions. Now, you'll have to either watch streams or watch a feed or follow people on Twitter to get the qualifying order, because it will be out there. You just have to look for it. This isn't going to be handed to you. This isn't kindergarten. We're not giving you stuff. I'm certainly not going to be giving stuff away after this video. So you got to look for it, put some work into it. What else are you doing? You're sitting at home. You're sitting on your ass, not really doing anything. But you got to put some work in it. So some people are going to know the starting positions. Others, if you're not paying attention, if you're not putting the work into it, you're not going to know it. That's just how it's going to be. The race, it's going to have no resets. The main thing about that is I had a question earlier in the week regarding resets, regarding how many times people have used resets in the past. And that's something I kept. I even wrote it down in my notes, but it's not something that I'm going to rely heavily on, only because a lot of these drivers, when they joined the service, they weren't really familiar with how it worked. They didn't really understand what a reset was. They didn't understand that, you had to uncheck it. Because you physically have to either say that you want the reset or you don't, or it'll automatically give you the reset if you don't tell it to not to, or you get to change the code. Anyway, a lot of these drivers just burn through resets because, one, they didn't know how to really work them. Two, they didn't really understood what they did. And so, like at Homestead, for example, all the big wrecks, the reason you kept seeing, Clint Boyer pile up into these wrecks, the reason you kept seeing Jimmy Johnson kept coming back out is because they would just burn through the resets. So some of the drivers would take resets for very minor damage that, if you know anything about iRacing, it's quite stupid to do. You really want to save those. Those are almost like religious text. You don't want to burn them, only on certain occasions. You know what I'm saying? So looking at how many resets people went through isn't really what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to focus more on how many incidents these drivers have gotten over the course of the last few races. I mean, you can go back, you can see who wrecked and who did all that, or you can look at practice, and that's what I did, and check and see how many incident points people are getting. Now, an incident point on the iRacing service is defined by either loss of traction, hitting the wall, hitting cars, either way. So or getting an off track. So if you go on the grass, it's 1. If you spin out, it's 2. If you spin out, or if you get sideways, it's 2. If you spin out completely, it's 4. If you hit the wall kind of soft, it could be 0, could be 2. If you hit it hard, it's going to be 4. If you hit some other car soft, it's going to be 0. If you hit someone very softly, it's 2. If you hit someone hard, it's 4. You get the gist of it. So how many incidents people have is something I'm going to put into weighing who is a safe play, who isn't going to just destroy their car as soon as they get in the race. The race is 150 laps. Sure, I think William Byron's going to dominate. I think he'll win the race. But dominator points, I think you need the driver who leads the most amount of laps. Fast laps I'm not really going to focus on because the tire model is broken. Some people who pit with newer tires are going to have such a huge advantage over whoever stays out, which will most likely be William Byron. So if you don't see William Byron getting all the fast laps, don't worry about it. He's most likely not going to get them all unless the thing goes green. Then it'll be his. But if everybody else is on different strategies, different tires, it's going to be given to whoever has the newest set of tires. I think we'll see a caution pretty much every 20 to 35 laps. I don't think it's going to be nearly as bad as Bristol, but I think it could be worse in the beginning. I think we might have not a big one, but like a big wreck that destroys about 5 cars, probably in the first 5 laps. It takes you around, 3 to 4 or 5 laps to really get the car under you on this tire model. So that's the danger zone. So right on the restart, whether it's you slamming the gas right when the green flag comes out on a restart, or the 2 laps after that, that's what you really got to worry about. The race, I'm going to focus on just playing guys up in the front. You want to avoid the crash. I don't want to deal with anybody in the back. I don't want to deal with a back marker who's going to wreck the field, who's going to be involved in a wreck. Don't want to worry about that. All right, so I'm going to go over my notes that I have now, and then I'll go over my player pool, my quote-unquote player pool, because I usually play a lot of lineups. Last week, I made the mistake of doing that. I made the mistake of making lineups, hours before, thinking that DraftKings wouldn't move it, and then as heat races are going on, as they move the start time back, I was fucked, because I can't change that many lineups that late. So I'll probably stick to about 3 lineups. I'm going to try and all make them within the 15 minutes before the race starts, so we'll see how it goes. I suggest you do the same, or not. Make lineups today. Don't give a shit about where people start. Whatever you want to do. So, first I'm going to focus on the Wednesday practice session. Technically, this was a Tuesday practice session. So the way it works on the sim is you can practice by yourself at any time, any given day. If you want to practice at 3 a.m. by yourself on a test session, you can do that. The iRacing as an organization, the NASCAR Pro Invitational Series as an organization under NASCAR, under all these guys, they've gotten together and they put up 24-hour sessions throughout the week for the drivers to race together, practice together, or at least see each other's times, because everybody practices at different times. So I would say that these are the quote-unquote official practice sessions that people should use. If you don't want to do this, you can go be like Tyler Reddick and race on dirt street stocks against brand new accounts. So whatever you want to do. But this is just from the quote-unquote official practice sessions throughout the week. So I checked this Tuesday afternoon. This was the 24-hour practice session. Started on Tuesday at noon. The people who were in this session, who had done at least one lap or at least signed into the session: Brad Keselowski, Austin Dillon, Kevin Harvick, Ross Chastain, Ty Dillon, Clint Boyer, Joey Logano, William Byron, Michael McDowell, Ryan Preece, John Hunter Nemechek, Jimmy Johnson, Timmy Hill, and I think that's about it. Those are the only guys there. The fastest speeds at the moment, now this is just the fastest speed that was on that session. Austin Dillon, and I'm going to throw a lot of numbers out here, so don't worry. I know it's going to be confusing for a bit, but I'm just going to be throwing numbers out there for a bit. So this was how it was ranked in fastest speed. So you had Austin Dillon, William Byron, Ryan Preece, Timmy Hill, Clint Boyer, Brad Keselowski, Michael McDowell, John Hunter Nemechek, Kevin Harvick, Chastain, Logano, Dillon, and Johnson. Austin Dillon was fastest in this session at a 20.44. William had a 21.27. Ryan had a 21.39. Hill had a 21.41. Clinton had a 21.45. Brad a 21.48. McDowell a 21.49. John Hunter Nemechek a 21.56. Harvick had a 21.54. Chastain had a 21.57. Logano had a 20.58. Dillon had a 20.59, and Johnson had a 21.6. What does this tell me at the start of the week? Who has the faster car, or who's at least off pace? Because this is early in the week, so we just need to know who's slow. So I'm going off of William Byron's time, because the 20.44, that's a glitched lap. Austin probably rode the wall, something, because I know that is possible here at Bristol as well, and that's almost half a second faster than any time I saw throughout the whole week. So I'm discounting Austin Dillon's lap time there. I'm going to go off of William Byron's fastest lap time. So he had a 21.27. Johnson, the slowest, had a 21.64. So Johnson, he's about 3/10. You could say 3-4 off, however you want to put it that way. So the whole field right now is within 3/10. We're going to see how that migrates throughout the week. Now, at the start of that was the end of Wednesday's session. Let me see. Let me make sure. Oh man, I got dead radio. Let's see. Okay, so later in the session, I checked this later because I checked this early Wednesday. When I came in at the last part, before the session was over, the people who had jumped in at this time and who had ran laps and who had ran, let me see. Oh no, this was, sorry. First take. I was doing so well until I got here. That's how that session ended. At the start of Wednesday, because I have a session starting noon pretty much every day. So this session went from noon Wednesday to noon Thursday. So at the start of this session, right at the start, the people who were in there an hour and 30 minutes in, it was just Michael McDowell and Jimmy Johnson. McDowell had ran 17 laps, Jimmy Johnson had ran 17 laps, and all these guys had done in this session had ran 2-lap runs pretty much throughout their session. No real time, no real data had been gathered at this point in Wednesday's session because nobody had joined. I checked in later. William Byron had jumped in. He ran 42 laps. He did a 40-lap run, and this shows us what type of pace he's most likely going to run throughout the week. So from laps 1 through 10, he did a 21.557 to a 21.681. 1. So over the course of 10 laps, he lost about a tenth. Tenth and 300ths, however you want to put it there. So, what we're seeing is everybody's going to lose about, a tenth and a half over the course of 10 laps. And that's what William Byron lost in those first 10 laps, and he lost 3/10 after that. And so over the course of his 40-lap run, he started at 21.557 and ended at a 22.382. What did that do? He lost about 8/10 over the course of 40 laps, which is what he did consistently throughout the week. I don't need to bore you with the actual numbers in there. That's just what you need to know. So Byron lost about 8/10 in those 40-lap runs. Now let's get into the real data that happened later in that Wednesday session. So, like I said, this session went all the way into Thursday at noon. So I went in there. Let me see. End of Thursday, and actually that's all the people who jumped into that session. So now we're moving on to the session that happened on Thursday, because nothing really happened Wednesday. People didn't jump in. Either way, we're going to continue on. These early notes aren't important. I'm just putting them out there for you. Okay, so the end of Thursday's practice time. This was checked Friday morning, so this was 3 hours and 15 minutes until the end of the session. Oh boy, I was doing so well. And this type of note, from here on out through the video, these times are important. So, the mess up that happened 30 minutes, whatever. 3 hours and 15 minutes until the end of the Friday morning practice session. So the driver who was at the top of the podium was Landon Castle. It went to William Byron, Nemechek, Hill, Jr., Harvick, Priest, Parker, Bobby Labonte, Garrett Smithley, Brad Keselowski, Michael Bedell, Kurt Busch, and Joey Gaze. This was how this session ended. This was the only people who were in this session. So this was the Friday morning practice session, basically. Landon Castle ran a 21.415. Byron ran a 21.505. Nemechek a 21.508. Hill 21.51. Junior 21.53. Harvick 21.54. Priest 21.547. Parker 21.571. Labonte 21.575. Smithley 21.582. Brad Keselowski 21.610. McDowell 21.61. Kurt Busch 21.69. Joey Gaze 21.74. Now, what are the important notes that we need to take from this session? So I looked at the laps and incidents that these drivers did in this session, and this is when I started really caring about it, because like I said earlier in the week, I'm not too concerned about how these guys are. It could be the first time at the track, could be the first time, in a new sim, whatever. So at this point, Landon Castle, top of the board, only did 12 laps in 24 hours. William Byron, second fastest, did 11 laps. Castle had 4 incidents, by the way. Nemechek did 21 laps, had 14 incidents. Hill did 100 laps, had 15 incidents. Junior did 26 laps, had 12 incidents. Harvick, 171 laps, 6 incidents. Priest, 91 laps, 2 incidents. Parker, 7 laps, 2 incidents. Bobby Labonte, 108 laps, 14 incidents. Garrett Smithley, 46 laps, 28 incidents. Brad Keselowski, 229 laps, 39 incidents. Michael McDowell, 87 laps, 27 incidents. Kurt Busch, 12 laps, 0 incidents. And Joey Gaze, 34 incidents. Now, what does this tell us here in the early Friday session, practice session? Castle, I'm not too concerned about it. He's an iRacing veteran. I'm not really concerned about the 12 laps. Byron, 111 laps, 0 incidents, going to be the safest play you could have crash-wise. He most likely won't hit the wall unless he's involved in a crash. Nemechek did 21 laps, 14 incidents. Not too good, Hill, 100 laps, 15 incidents. Hey, that's all right. Junior, 26 laps, 12 incidents. I'm sure he was goofing around, pushing the car, see what it had. He's an iRacing veteran, not too concerned about it. Harvick, 171 laps, 6 incidents. He's taking it seriously. He's really putting the time in. He's not whacking the wall. He's not making mistakes. Priest, 2 incidents, 91 laps, not bad at all. Parker, 2 incidents, 7 laps. iRacing veteran, not too worried about it. Bobby Labonte, the ideal person, safe person, consistent. Only 14 laps, 108 incidents. Garrett Smithley, 46 laps, 28 incidents. that's scary, but he's an iRacing veteran. I'm not too concerned about it. Brad Keselowski did almost 250 laps, only 40 incidents at that point. Not concerning. McDowell, on the other hand, 87 laps, 27 incidents. That's a bit rough. Kurt Busch, 0 incidents, but only ran 12 laps, kind of slow. Not really liking that at a fantasy aspect. And Joey Gase was early in the week. He was pushing it hard. Had 34 incidents and 59 laps. Now, I broke down what people were doing in this practice session. Castle, and I'm not going to say laps again, but I'm just going to tell you what people did. Castle did nothing but 2-lap runs. Byron did a 20-lap run. His best run was from lap 78 to lap 95. He started at a 21.62 and ended at a 22.94 over the course of, 15 laps, 16 laps, on par of what he's done. Nemechek did 5-lap runs, nothing else. Hill did one 14-lap run. If you want to compare that to Byron, I'll go over these two. So Hill's 14-lap run here earlier in the week, or on a Friday, was a 21. He started at 21.661, ended at a 21.974. So on this run, he looked faster than Byron. They ran the same amount of laps, but that's probably because Hill was just pushing it more than Byron does. Byron just saves tires, not too concerned about that. Junior only did single lap runs. Harvick did a lot of 4-lap runs, did 2 20-lap runs. Priest, but Harvick's off the pace, we're not worried about his times. Priest did one 30-lap run, but it was early in the session. That's when he ran his fast lap. Park only ran single laps. Bobby Labonte did super long runs, 30 laps, 40 laps. You know what you get from there. Garrett Smithley did single lap runs. Brad Keselowski did ton of 20-lap runs. Michael McDowell, one 15-lap run in this practice, and Kurt Busch only ran single file. Now, where are we going from here? We got the Friday night practice race, and then we have the Saturday practice session, and these are the numbers I'm going to really focus on. This is our best idea of what we have from these drivers. I know it took a while to get here. I know I got to get through all the other stuff, but nobody else has this data, and I might as well get it out there because I'm not sharing pictures, so I got to talk it through. So the Friday night practice session, the finishing results of this race: Byron won it, Priest finished second, Kyle Busch third, Smithley, Kligerman, Jones, Castle, Brad Keselowski, Chastain, Labonte, Harvick, Hill, Ty Dillon, and Junior. These were how the people were. Junior was the only one that didn't finish on the lead lap. He got in a accident. Now, these were the incident points that these drivers had in this 80-lap race. Byron had 0. Priest had 4. Kyle Busch had 14. Smithley had 0. Kligerman had 4. Jones had 20. Castle had 16. Brad Keselowski had 8. Chastain had 14. Labonte had 8. Harvick had 12. Hill had 12. Ty Dillon had 26. And Junior had 26. This was not a caution-filled race, but I think there was 4 or 5 cautions in this event. They only had one good run to really go off of, and that was between laps 53 to lap 66. There was no real strategy during this run. Everybody pitted, everybody came in for tires. Some people had damage, some people didn't. So I don't really need to go over these notes. I wrote the times down, but they're the same as they are in the later practice session. Basically, as I've been saying, Byron was the fastest. At the end of that session, he pulled away from the field. He was leading, but he was fastest by far. Everybody's in par except Brad Keselowski. Keselowski's about 0.05 off the field. And Harvick is struggling. He's about 0.1 off the field. Everybody else is within, 0.1 or, within 0.05 or whatever. Okay, so that practice session showed me pretty much 3 things. One, everybody's going to be whacking the wall. Kyle Busch, Jones, I have concern about them getting into the wall. Chastain was a weapon. Chastain was hitting everybody left and right. He was hitting the wall. He was all over the place. And Ty Dillon was a weapon as well. Those guys, I don't know if it's the car, I don't know if it's setup, but they can't hold the line. They can't do anything. Now, moving on to the Friday 24-hour session, practice session. This is the main goal here. Now, 10 hours in, I was hearing Dale Jr. talk to, let me make sure here. This session, my first notes are from when I hopped in Friday evening at 9 p.m. This was the score. This was what was it? The fastest cars at this point. So in this final practice session, which that's what I'm going to call it, Hill was at the top of the charts in overall speed. Then it went Kligerman, Priest, Byron, LaJoy, Castle, Jr., Smithley, McDowell, Bowman, Custer, Jones, Harvick, Brad Keselowski, Bobby Labonte, Poole, DiBenedetto, Reddick, Ty Dillon, and Kyle Busch. The field was separated. I'm not gonna count Kyle Busch because Kyle Busch was 4/10 off the pace. I'm sure he was focusing on the IndyCar series, so I'm not gonna count him in this. But Hill had ran a 21.62. Ty Dillon, last car, had ran a 21.93. So this showed that the field is within 0.3 of each other on the best lap, on the best part of the day. The laps at this point, 9 hours in or 10 hours in. Hill did 49 laps, had 24 incidents. Kligerman did 63 laps, had 4 incidents. Priest did 170 laps, had 2 incidents. Byron did 133 laps, 0 incidents. LaJoy, 79 laps, 28 incidents. Castle, 102 laps, 11 incidents. Junior, 179 laps, 29 incidents. Smithley, 64 laps, 40 incidents. McDowell, 70 laps, 6 incidents. Bowman, 28 laps, 8 incidents. Custer, 172 laps, 41 incidents. Good job copying your number there. Jones, 72 laps, 24 incidents. Harvick, 220 laps, 18 incidents. Brad Keselowski, 58 laps, 7 incidents. Bobby Labonte, 222 laps, 9 incidents. Poole, 175 laps, 27 incidents. DiBenedetto, 34 laps, 28 incidents. Reddick, 60 laps, 16 incidents. Ty Dillon, 12 laps, 8 incidents. Kyle Busch, 21 laps, 2 incidents. So far, looking at the practice sessions, the fastest laps are telling us a lot. I hate to say that I'm not really looking at 10 lap runs or anything, but I'm really not here. Where people are running on their overall speed is just how they're running. From this practice session, who's a bit sketchy for me right now? LaJoy. This is the first time I saw LaJoy in any practice session this week. He had 28 incidents here and 79 laps. Smithley, 64 laps, 40 incidents. Not sure what's up with Smithley here. Jones, 72 laps, 24 incidents. Not too good. Harvick running 220 laps. Harvick is off pace. He's not going to do well race-wise, but this shows that he's taking it seriously. He's showing up to at least compete. That's all we need to see from him. DiBenedetto, a guy who said at Bristol he doesn't care, he's just going to show up. It's showing here. I think these were his first laps of the week. 34 laps, 28 incidents, and he just quit there. 0.3 slower than the faster guys for DiBenedetto. I mean, that's how it is, man. That's how it is. Later this was this morning when I checked it. This was the same group. The only people who had joined in and who had done something was Keselowski. Ended up doing 60 more laps. He ended up with, Keselowski started at 58 laps and 7 incidents. He ended up with 291 laps at 100 incidents. But Keselowski only ran single laps. So he only did single laps, maybe 4 laps max for 200 laps. LaJoy entered the session. He originally had 79 laps when I last checked and 28 incidents. He ended up with 118 laps at 64 incidents. And all he ran were single laps. He did not do long runs. Tyler Reddick, he started at 60 laps and 16 incidents. Reddick ended at 126 laps and 31 incidents. Reddick is not consistent. He's missing marks. One lap, he'll be 0.5 tenth faster than his last lap. Another lap, he'll be 0.2 slower. He is not consistent at all. Junior did some short runs. He started at 179 laps and 79 incidents and ended at 191 laps and 31 incidents. He just did a short run, and he saw a slight improvement. Nemechek, Where are you at, Nemechek? Nemechek joined the session. He did 11 laps and had 8 incidents. Eric Jones did 8 more laps. Castle did an additional 10 laps. No improvement on their lap times. Let's see here. This was the final practice session. Across the board, there's about a, like I said, 10th and a half, 2/10 fall off every 2 seconds. Then we get into the race on Saturday, and I apologize if I'm just throwing notes out, if it's in a broken manner, if you don't listen at this point. I understand that. This information is so fucking stupid and hard to get. Like, it's broken up. Nobody practices at the same time. I have to check, 8 hours away. It's so stupid. It's just dumb. It's so stupid how hard it is to get this stupid data and how fast you gotta check it and all that. And then the thing I was banking on, what I worked for Bristol, was the final practice race of the week. It was at 2:30 on Saturday. I covered it on my YouTube. Only 7 fucking people showed up. Like, what the fuck, guys? Are you not taking this seriously? I understand if you aren't, but like, what the fuck? If you don't practice racing with other people around and tomorrow's a shit show, you can't complain that tomorrow's a shit show because you didn't fucking show up and practice. So only 7 guys showed up. Landon Castle, William Byron ran away with the race. It had no cautions. They're in a league of their own. They were so much faster. Castle took an early lead. He led for about the first 30 laps, and then Byron saved tires, caught up, drove around him, won the race. Smithley just called it quits 40 laps in. Bobby Labonte was clean and precise. He finished 3rd, but he was, 10. Hold on. How many laps? Bobby Labonte finished 11 seconds behind over the course of 40 laps, which is on par with what we're going to see the fallout. Brennan Poole, he's okay, but he hit the wall. He had to go pit. He finished 1 lap down. Bowman just quit, and Harvick crashed. He was killing his tires. Harvick was horrible. Like, I didn't gain any fucking data from this, so now I gotta go back, and I'm gonna say the practice times again, because this had the most amount of people on it. I think this is how you have to approach it off of these times right here. So this was the final practice session with almost everybody in there. So the final times were Hill fastest was 21.62. Kligerman second fastest 21.63. Preece a 21.63. Byron a 21.53. LaJoy a 21.67 after he rejoined. Castle a 21.74. Junior a 21.726. Nemechek a 21.765. Smithley a 21.778. McDowell a 21.783. Bowman a 21.805. Custer a 21.812. Jones a 21.818. Harvick a 21.826. Keselowski a 21.835. Bobby a 21.836. Poole a 21.893. DiBenedetto a 21.903. Reddick a 21.905. Dillon a 21.934. And Kyle Busch with 22.003. That's the best data we have. I know it took you 30 minutes to get here, but that was it. That was the most condensed data that we were able to get over the course of a fucking week. Now you understand why I just went through all my data, because I didn't want it to be wasted. Okay, now I got to go to, who I like. Who are my guys that I like? Who are the fast guys? Who are the safe guys? The fast guys are going to be Byron, Keselowski, or Byron, Castle. Castle's not locked in. And Preece, Smithley. Those are probably the 4 fastest guys that I've seen this week. The safe guys, Bobby Labonte, although he's not locked in yet. Nemechek, Parker, Smithley, Junior, although Junior isn't locked in yet. I might go Brennan Poole, but he could do good or bad. The trap plays, the guys that I don't like, Hill, the Busch brothers. Kyle Busch didn't even fucking show up for practice other than those 11 laps I told you about. The Dillon brothers, they didn't show up to the later races. or practice sessions later in the week. And then Jimmy Johnson. I have sources telling me, don't play Jimmy Johnson. You know, I trust those. I'm going to go with that. I'm not going to play Jimmy Johnson. This week is more of a farce than Bristol. I don't know if it was what happened with Larson. I don't know if it's what happened with Bubba. But these guys just didn't show up. They didn't take it seriously. And it's going to be Castle and Byron tomorrow. Those should be the two fastest guys, with Kligerman fighting for third or fourth with Timmy Hill. You know, everybody else is sketchy. McDowell's sketchy. Keselowski's sketchy. Clint's sketchy. Priest is fast, but I haven't seen enough of him in the later parts of the week to really say anything. Logano, I don't trust him. He didn't show up for practice. Johnson, like I said, I'm not playing him. Harvick, he's doing a lot of laps, but he's just slow. You know, it's gonna be bad. And I know this is the only podcast that's actually going into detail on this type of stuff, but that's what it falls into. Like, it's just a bunch of broken data. These guys didn't show up this week like they did Bristol, and it's gonna be a farce, man. I think drivers are gonna be mad tomorrow about people not racing right, but yet nobody shows up for practice. So the way I'm gonna approach tomorrow's DraftKings contest is just join the session through iRacing, watch the early practice, watch qualifying, and throw together a lineup with 15 minutes left, or 15 minutes before lock. I think that'll be it. I don't think I can play more than 3 lineups. I think that's going to be dumb for me because I won't be able to edit lineups quickly enough to make anything more than that, and it's going to be stupid. It's going to be stupid. If this is your intro and you didn't like how I do this is not how I normally do my NASCAR stuff. It's usually much easier. I don't have to write everything down. I just, it's different for everybody. I know we're 36 minutes into this, so thank you for listening. That's about it. That's all I could find. That's all I could throw at you. And best of luck tomorrow. That's about it. Hope you come back next week. Hope I didn't run you off. And thank God NASCAR is talking about coming back next week or next month for real, racing without fans. Please do that. Please, DraftKings. Please, NASCAR. Please work out. FanDuel fucked up. Play Christopher Bell. He's only 3,500. That's another tidbit. Christopher Bell's a lock. Y'all have a great day, and we'll talk next time.